So now I'm going to give you some notes on the fretboard that you should memorize. And it's a good method. If you start memorizing these notes that I'm going to give you, then you can use your knowledge of half steps, whole steps, and that little half step wheel that we had before to figure out a lot of the other notes. But you should start by memorizing these notes. And I'm going to give you the notes on the sixth string. Then I'm going to give you the same notes on the first string, because this first string is also an E string, 2 octaves higher than the lower E string. And I'm also going to give you the notes that are on the fifth string. Now there's a reason why we're doing this, but when we get to talk about chords and movable chords, you'll see how this knowledge will help you. So we're going to start with our sixth string, which is our E string, open string. As we know, that's a little bit of a review. If we move up a half step, the first note here is an F. Now we're going to move up 2 more half steps or a whole step, and this note here will be a G, the next letter note in the alphabet. We move up 2 more half steps, and we're going to wind up at an A. We move up another 2 half steps, that's a B. Now we're only going to move up a half step now, 1 half step, and we're going to get to our C. 2 more half steps, we're on D, and another 2 half steps, and we're back at an E, which is an octave higher than the open E that we started with. Recap real quickly. Open E, F, another whole step, G, another whole step, A, another whole step, B, now a half step, that's C, move up 2 more half steps or another whole step, that's our D, and then we're back at our E. So you're going to start off by memorizing that, and the great thing about it is once you have that memorized, then it's very easy for you to do the same thing on the top string, which is our first string. So we're going to start with our first string, open E. We're going to move up a half step to F, another whole step to get to G, another whole step, we'll get to A, another whole step, we're up to B. Now we only need to move up a half step to get to C, another whole step to get to D, and then 1 more whole step, and we're up again at an E, which is 1 octave higher than the open E. Now obviously you'll realize that the relationship between the frets and the notes on both of these strings are exactly the same. So we're able to play both of these open strings, the E on the bottom and this E, which is 2 octaves higher on the top. So string number 1 and string number 6. Now if we play the first fret, that is an F, up a whole step, G on both of those strings. Another whole step will take us to A. Another whole step will take us to B. We only move up 1 fret now for a half step to C. 1 more whole step up to D. And then 1 more whole step to get back to an octave E, which is 1 octave higher than the note we started off with. So those are the notes that you should memorize for the 6th string and the first string. They're both E's, and 2 birds with 1 stone, so to speak. Now we're going to also know the notes, memorize the notes that are on the 5th string. So we start off with the open string 5, which is A. Now we're going to move up 2 frets, and we're going to go to B. Now, as we know from working with the half step wheel, we only have to move up a half step to get to our C. Move up a whole step to get to D. Another whole step, and that's E. A half step gives us F. We move up a whole step and we're at G. One more whole step and we're back at A, which is an octave higher than the original A, the open string 5 that we started with. Recap really quickly, starting with an open string A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and back to A. So it's really important to memorize those 3 strings. Now, it's not that you shouldn't memorize the notes on the other strings too, but just with those 3 strings, it's possible, using your knowledge of half steps and whole steps, to figure out a lot of the notes on the other strings. In addition, you can match notes that you know on those strings. For example, a G, you can match it with another note on another string. So right away you know that this G that you've just learned matches in sound to the G that's here. It also matches to the open string G. Another example is that you might match this G right here, which you've just learned, and you can match it with another G here, or another G here. In addition, you can use your knowledge of half steps, whole steps, sharps, and flats. Along with the half step wheel that you have, you can go backwards and say, if that's a G, then this must be a G flat, and that must be an F. If we move backwards along strings like this, that's an E, and then we can go back and figure out all the other notes. C, B, A, by essentially going backwards on the wheel. So in addition, learning the notes on the 5th and 6th string, when we get to movable chords, which is something when we get to the section on chords, knowing exactly where what we call the root of the chord is allows you to be able to move chords around. And typically many chords take the name of the root, which is the lowest note. So that's one of the reasons why we'll learn the 5th and 6th strings, because the roots for those chords that we're going to be learning often occurs on the lowest strings.